Lycia, Gorgons, Aladdin, and under Gaia, Uranus, Kronos, Rhea, other Titans, 3 Cyclops, and 300 Alanders. Poseidon, Hestia, Hades, Demeter, Hera, and Zeus. Hephaestus, Ares, Aphrodite. Apollo and Artemis, Perseus, Hermes, Dionysus, Heracles, Athena, Pan. Zeus married many more goddesses and nymphs. Here I have included most of his more important children. Then we have Orpheus, Odysseus, and Achilles, mortals descended from Zeus. It's a very complicated family tree. On this page we have the Olympians and the world. Ancient Greece was known not as Greece to the people who lived there, but as Hellas. Their view of the world was based on what they knew of the Mediterranean Sea and the surrounding lands, and just as they had mythological explanations of almost everything in their day-to-day lives, they also had detailed mythological descriptions of the land to which they thought all souls went after they died, as well as many stories about the origins of the sun, the moon, and even the stars in the sky. So in this section we have the Underworld. According to Hesiod, the ancient Greeks believed that if an anvil were dropped from heaven, it would take 9 days for it to reach the earth. Beneath the earth lay Hades, the kingdom of the dead, which was divided into several different regions and had a number of rivers running through it. After being ferried across the river Styx and receiving judgment, heroes and righteous people would obtain their reward in the Elysian fields, while the wicked would be punished forever in the fiery regions of Tartarus. According to the Iliad, Tartarus was a further 9-day anvil fall from the main areas of Hades. The ancient Greek world. The ancient Greeks held a view of the world that was firmly based in the Mediterranean. They thought that the centre of the world was Delphi. To the far west of the world lay the Straits of Gibraltar, while to the far east lay India. To the north were the cold lands of the Hyperboreans, and to the south the land of Libya. They believed that all these lands were surrounded by an encircling sea, which they called Oceanus. You can see a map here. Asia, India, Libya, Europa, Hyperborea. Astrological constellations. Orion. Artemis fell in love with Orion, the hunter, and as moon goddess stopped shining. Apollo tricked her into killing him. In grief, she placed him among the stars. Centaurus. Chiron was a wise centaur who acted as a tutor to 2 famous Greek heroes, Jason and Heracles. When he died, he too was placed in the heavens. Draco. According to most myths, the Draco is Ladon, who guarded the apples of the Hesperides. Hera placed him in the sky after Heracles slew him. Leo. armies of Zeus. With the Titans defeated, Typhon or Typhoeus, an enormous 100-headed dragon, rose up, roaring and hissing to challenge the might of Zeus. But the angry god soon vanquished Typhon and hurled him down into Tartarus to join the Titans. Zeus and the gods then had to face one final enemy, the giants. These brutal creatures piled mountains, one on top of another, in an effort to attack the heavens. Zeus defeated them too, burying them deep in the earth from which they had been born. Legend has it that Zeus even imprisoned one of them beneath Mount Etna, a Sicilian volcano that still spews forth lava whenever the giant writhes in rage. In the middle we have an illustration of the War of Gods and Titans. Then on this page, Rhea fools Kronos. Then we've got some diary entries again. June the 16th. Still at Malta, I have decided that I shall begin my search for relics in the places Lady Hestia mentions in her book. I will start by taking a ferry to Crete. Then down below we have the cave on Mount Dicta. June the 30th. Mount Dicta, Crete. I found a guide who agreed to take me to the cave where Rhea hid Zeus. As a baby, the guide grew upset when I took out a small pick and started poking about for relics, so I had to stop. Not surprised. Okay, the next pages are monsters and mythical beasts. As well as believing in the Olympian gods, the ancient Greeks believed the world was populated with terrible monsters and fabulous beasts. Most of these creatures were relatives of the gods or titans. The Gorgons, for example, were three savage sisters, descendants of Gaia and the sea. They had wings of gold and snakes for hair. Only one, Medusa, was immortal, and all who looked upon her were turned to stone. So, on the left-hand side we have a harpy, an illustration of a harpy, a siren, a fury, and the crier. The diary entries say, July the 8th, leaving Crete, I have decided to visit western Greece before heading on to Athens. By that time I hope to have found some relics to offer Mr. Patakis for his museum. I thought, if I begin to believe Zeus is real and is helping me to find relics, shouldn't I start believing the Greek monsters are real too? So, Perseus and the Gorgons. Only one hero was brave enough to face the Gorgons, the demigod Perseus. He was the child of Danae and Zeus. The story goes that Perseus and his mother were locked in a chest and cast into the sea by a wicked king named Acrisius. The chest landed at Seriphos, where King Polydectes fell in love with Danae. tentacles on his hands and feet, making 4 legs. In the middle of life, when he is an adult, he walks on 2 legs, and in the evening of life, when he is old, he uses a stick, making 3 legs. Having been defeated, the Sphinx destroyed itself. Beasts. The Caledonian boar was one of the fiercest beasts in the Greek myths, although it looked like an ordinary boar. Most mythical beasts were fantastical blends of many animals. The fire-breathing chimera, for example, had a lion's head, a dragon's tail and a goat's body. It was slain by the hero Bellerophon, who also tamed another beast, the winged horse Perseus, using a magic bridle that was given to him by the goddess Athena. Dragons. Many of the ancient Greek monsters that heroes needed to defeat were dragon-like in appearance. On the left, the student will find a short booklet describing these creatures. On its cover is a picture of Echidna, the mate of evil Typhon. So, we've got another one of these little booklets, a book of serpents, illustrated. Let's take a look. Python, the dragon of Delphi, was an enormous serpent, the enemy of Apollo. He lay curled around a stone, thought to be at the very centre of the Greek universe. Python and Apollo. When Hera learned that Leto was pregnant by Zeus, she banned her from giving birth on dry land and sent Python to chase after her. Eventually, Leto did manage to give birth to the god Apollo and goddess Artemis. Apollo soon sought out Python to take his revenge. He defeated the serpent at Delphi, becoming god of the sanctuary there, where his chief priestess was known as the Pythia. Ladon, or Ladon. Ladon was a dragon that never slept. He guarded the sacred apples in the garden of the Hesperides. Some myths tell that he had 100 heads. Ladon and Heracles. For his 11th labour, Heracles was commanded to fetch one of the golden apples of the Hesperides. In one version, he tricked Atlas into fetching them, offering to hold up the sky for him. In another, Heracles found the way to the garden of the Hesperides himself by wrestling the old man of the sea, and then managed to kill the unsleeping Ladon. Typhon. Typhon had many monstrous children, including Cerberus, Hades' dog, Ladon, the Hydra, the Chimera, the Nemean lion and the Sphinx. Typhon and Zeus. A vast monster with writhing serpents for legs, Typhon had fiery breath and was not at all easy for Zeus to kill. Indeed, at one point, he had almost beaten the king of the gods. Fortunately, Zeus finally won the day. Some myths say that it is Typhon, rather than a giant who lies trapped beneath Mount Etna in Sicily. His mate was the monster Echidna. Zeus spared the monster Echidna the destruction he meted out to her mate Typhon, so her children would provide a challenge for later heroes. Echidna and Argus. Terrible Echidna was known as the mother of all monsters, because as the mate of Typhon she gave birth to a great many of them. She was finally slain in her sleep by Argus Panoptes. 100-eyed Argus was the goddess, Hera's watchman and guardian. Since only a few of his eyes were closed almost in sleep at the same time. He was always awake. Then on the right hand side we have a little booklet that says specimen, handle with care. Let's have a look inside. So there's a little bit of, looks like wool, but it says it's a part of the golden fleece. Let me show you a bit closer up. There. So this says Hermes sent a golden flying ram to two children, Perseus and Helle, to save them from being killed. The ram was sacrificed in cold ships, and Jason returned its fleece to Greece. So the diary entries say July the 14th. I think that says MythOLOGY. This is the town where the famous Lord Byron died. I tried to retrieve pieces of statue from the nearby ruins of Caledon, but was chased off by a mad bull. A superstitious person might even have thought the creature was protecting the ruins. I fared much better in town, where a trader sold me a genuine piece of the original golden fleece. Zeus be praised. Okay, so I am going to leave it there for now. The next page would be the origins of mankind, and we'll do that in another video. Well, I really hope you enjoyed the next part of MythOLOGY. I know I certainly enjoyed reading that. This has